So good morning everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm John Spanton from SFW and I'll be chairing today's session. I'd also like to introduce Rob Barth, one of our enterprise content management consultants who will be presenting today's demonstration. Today's audience is mostly split between corporate communications and IT staff and we'll do our best to make sure that we accommodate both audiences. So here's our agenda for today. I'll start with a brief introduction to SFW and set the scene for today's session. I'll then hand over to Rob, who'll run today's demonstration. We'll then have a brief overview of how SFW Plaza can be implemented in just 4 weeks, before finally taking some questions at the end of the session. Before we get started, there are a few quick items of housekeeping we should cover first. We'll be recording this session today, which we'll make available for you to revisit should you wish to, and share with colleagues. We'll take questions at the end of the session, so if you'd like to pose a question, please do use the console and send us a message. At the end of the session, we'll respond to as many questions as possible, and if there's anything that we run out of time to cover, we'll respond after the webinar. Lastly, if you have any difficulties with the webinar, please try closing the application and rejoining. That resolves the majority of issues. So let's start with introducing SFW and our intranet product Plaza. SFW provides design-driven digital services for the public sector, and we've been designing and implementing enterprise-scale intranets for 15 years, working primarily with public sector clients. Those clients include government departments, agencies, local authorities, police, and NHS. This means we understand both the common themes the public sector are seeking, as well as the differences that must be considered to deliver success. We've consolidated all of our experience in this area into SFW Plaza, a ready-to-go intranet product designed for public sector organisations for deployment on the Office 365 platform. So why an intranet? Well, there are a number of themes that we find come up again and again. The first is to improve productivity, making it easier to collaborate on content, and then, once published, easier to find it with assurance that the information found is authoritative. The second is to improve communications throughout the organisation. This might be driven by many reasons, but the common ones include reinforcement of corporate messages, supporting substantive organisational change, or uniting a distributed workforce. And thirdly, to introduce regular management overheads, enabling content editors to easily and frequently publish new content. More regular content updates also drive up usage from end users as the intranet becomes increasingly relevant and up to date. So let's consider briefly how public sector organisations are approaching intranets. Firstly, one of the cornerstones of achieving high levels of user adoption is to put the user first. An intranet must therefore be easy to use, and it must be clear how it can help end users go about their day-to-day business more effectively. Design is an important consideration. A new intranet needs to look modern such that it demonstrates progress, but without spending a fortune on design. The answer is a simple, elegant design that can be easily tailored for individual public sector clients. Government guidelines are to consider Cloudfirst, which deliver a combination of high levels of uptime, low maintenance, and cost-effective utility-based pricing, so you only pay for what you use. Cloud will later this year become more accessible for organisations running at elevated levels of security thanks to Microsoft's forthcoming launch of UK data centres. A cloud model makes it possible also to substantially reduce delivery timescales so that you can start realising the benefits of a new intranet much more quickly. And lastly, accelerated delivery timescales aren't so useful if it takes 6 months to procure your new intranet, but purchasing through frameworks such as G-Cloud can ensure that the selection and contract completion process are swift and straightforward. So I'm now going to pass you over to Rob, who will demonstrate Plaza for you.
Thank you, John. I'm Rob Barth, and I've been working with intranets for 10 years. I've also been responsible for overseeing the development of SFW Plaza. So, welcome to SFW Plaza. What you are now seeing is an example of the SFW Plaza intranet homepage, which features different news channels, both here and here. It also features key links and corporate events, and an integrated Yammer feed directly within the homepage itself. SFW Plaza has two separate modules, the Intranet and Collaboration modules. We will explore elements of both of these later in this webinar. SFW Plaza is fully responsive, so as you can see it will work on a variety of different devices, whether a tablet or anything down to a mobile phone. SFW provides you with a modern and function-rich communication and collaboration tool. The setup time is minimal. We can configure the whole intranet very quickly with low upfront costs and avoid the pain associated with traditional lengthy IT projects. We have designed SFW Plaza to make rebranding simple. Your colours, your fonts and logo can be applied within minutes, making the entire intranet quickly feel like your own. Today, I'm going to take you through a scenario which will explore a few of the key features of SFW Plaza. This scenario will revolve around publishing and promotion of a recycling policy within the fictitious Wessex County Council. So let's begin. I'm now logged in, or simulated being logged in, as Ramona Schult, the Head of Facilities at Wessex County Council. Ramona today is focused upon putting the final touches together on the Council's new recycling policy before she goes off on annual leave tomorrow. Her team are making use of the SFW Plaza collaboration application to draft and refine the new recycling policy. To review progress, Ramona navigates to her team's working area. She comes here to the collaboration site and she can see a list of all of her working areas situated directly on the landing page. Now, I should point out this is a personalised list. Each member of staff will automatically only see those working areas that they themselves are responsible for. So in Ramona's case, it's all related to her job in the facilities team. So the quickest way would be for her to click directly through on this link here to get to facilities. Alternatively, she could browse, going to the Teams page and viewing her entire organisation structure. She could browse through and click through to the facilities team in this way. Once Ramona gets to the facilities team landing page, she can view all of the latest activity that's going on within her team. Not only can she see who has access to view the site and manage the creation of new libraries, she can also view down the left-hand side all of the existing libraries that are already within the facilities team. And when I say libraries, each of these are document libraries storing her team's content. She can see the latest modified documents, and also she can see the integrated Yammer feed. Now I should point out that this Yammer feed that you're seeing here is not the same as the Yammer feed on the homepage. This is her group's Yammer feed. In other words, the conversations that are going on here in this Yammer feed are specifically about her team and handled within her team. We're not seeing other corporate information filtering in. Ramona can see that the recycling policy is in the recently modified documents. She could also navigate through by clicking through onto the library and actually viewing behind the scenes. And she can again see that her colleague Ben here has been actively modifying the Wessex County Council recycling policy. Clicking through, she can view the policy, she can edit it online. There's various different things that are provided within Office 365 here. For example, were her colleague Ben right now to be editing this document, Ramona would be able to see that he'd been editing it and tell which areas of the document he was actually editing. Multiple people are able to edit a document simultaneously in Office 365. Ramona could also cache all of the certain areas of the document libraries offline. So let's say she wanted to continue working upon some of her documents while she was on the go, let's say on a train with no internet access. Ramona would be able to carry on working, make those changes, and the next time she comes into the office, those changes would automatically be synchronized back up to SFW Plaza. Following a quick review of the document, Ramona is satisfied with the policy, makes a few changes, and asks Ben to publish it next Monday at 9 o'clock in her absence while she's off on leave. The last thing she does before she leaves the office is emails Carl, who's in the communications team, and asks Carl for his assistance with publishing the recycling policy and publicising it internally. I'm now going to switch over to Carl. So, Carl is Wessex County Council's internal communications manager. He's actually on a train heading to a meeting when he sees Ramona's email. He wants to find out more about the policy before he starts drafting a news article or promoting it internally in any way. To do this, he pulls out his phone and logs into SFW Plaza. What Carl wants to do now is see if he can find someone in the facilities team who can assist him with finding out more about the policy. Now, he knows that Ramona's out of office, so he uses SFW Plaza to navigate through to the people page. This is a staff directory of all of the people within the whole of Wessex County Council. And once the people page is loaded, he decides to search upon the word policy, because he's looking for someone who knows about policies, and he notices that there's various people who have been brought back by that search. So he decides to use the integrated filtering to filter by members of the facilities team. This brings him back with just 2 results, Ramona and Ben. As such, he decides that Ben is the best person to contact to find out more about the recycling policy. So once he's back in the office, Carl starts a conversation with Ben. I should mention that across SFW Plaza, we have Skype for Business integration, meaning that a conversation can be started directly within the context of the browser. You can also see when people are logged in and when they're not currently active at their desks. So, following his conversation with Ben, Carl establishes that there are various different communication channels that he has available. And he concludes that the information will reach more members of staff if he makes use of the council's intranet. He decides that the most appropriate channel to use is the corporate news channel. That's this channel that you're seeing right here on the landing page of SFW Plaza. This channel allows communication staff to publish organisation-wide news stories that are automatically displayed both here on the landing page and also in the news landing page itself. Just as he's about to start creating a new news article, Carl is interrupted with news that trains are being delayed in the local station, and obviously wants to promote this to staff before they go home for the day. He quickly chooses to make use of SFW Plaza's global alerts in order to publicise the fact that trains are delayed. To do that, he navigates to the news site and goes behind the scenes. Now, this is the nether world, I should say. This is the area of SFW Plaza that's only visible to content editors. I'm sure you're familiar with having backends in multiple CMSs that you've worked in. Carl clicks through to the global alerts list and can add a new item or edit an existing item. In this case, we're just going to edit an existing item. You can apply a title for a global alert, set a severity. You can have an optional link if you wish to, and apply a date. Carl selects Display Alert Toolstar and saves it, meaning that when he goes back to the landing page, that global alert will now prominently be displayed. You can probably see it here in this yellow bar, to all members of staff. So the process of getting out very quick and rapid information across your organisation is very fast in SFW Plaza. Returning to the news article, Carl goes to the news site and decides to start creating the new news article. He does this by, again, going up to this cog in the top corner and selecting Add a Page. Now, I should mention this Add a Page link. Across SFW Plaza, we have consistently applied the most relevant type of thing that a content editor might be expecting to add to relevant areas of SFW Plaza. So, to explain, here, when I select Add a Page when I'm in the news site, by default it creates a new news article. Whereas if I did it when I was within the policy site and selected add a page, I'd be creating a new corporate policy. So Carl selects add a page and decides to give that page a name. Let's choose recycling for now. Now this is a short name because it actually is applied into the URL. Carl will have the opportunity to change this later. And as ever in a demo, you can see that something interesting's happened. Let's try that again. Let's give it a different name. Let's call it Recycling 3, just to be very original. After a few seconds of spinning around, a new blank news article is loaded with the name that Carl's decided to give it, preloaded as the title. Now, Carl doesn't have to keep this name. He can choose to apply any name he wishes to. In this instance, he decides to add a much more elaborate name. But you can see that the original name he's given the page is actually still contained within the URL at the top. Going down the news article, all of this is sort of edits directly within the context as you'd expect from any modern CMS. Carl can see that the page owner is currently set to himself. This is because he's the person that's created the page. Now normally, Carl decides that either him or a member of his team is probably the most logical person to be contactable as the page owner. But in this instance, he's already agreed with facilities that Ramona is the best person for members of staff to contact when they want more information about the recycling policy. So he can easily change to any other member of staff directly within the context of the page itself. The next thing that Carl does is apply some summary text into the recycling page. After that, he applies some page content. Now, what I'm doing right now behind the scenes is I'm copying and pasting from a Word document. And when I paste in, you'll notice that it's picking up automatically some of the formatting. I'm hoping you can see principles and our existing commitments here are already styled, so are the bullet points. Now, you've probably been told by many people in the past, I'm imagining, that copying and pasting into a CMS from Word is bad practice. Well, one of the things that SharePoint Online does for you is it provides you with this ability to paste clean. What this means is it's stripping out all of the Word formatting and making that page lighter, and it doesn't have all of the extra problems that were associated with pasting from Word in the past. Gone are the days where you have to paste directly from via Notepad in order to get content into your CMS. The other thing I should point out is that these titles, principles, and our existing commitments are actually, they're marked up as subtitles within the Word document I've just pasted from, but they've automatically changed colour. They are now picking up the stylings that have been defined by the County Council, meaning that this is now picking up the heading 2 tag and are being automatically applied to it. There's various other things that Carl can do here directly within context of the page. He can easily add pictures, for example, as many pictures as he wants to. He can add videos. And when we're talking about videos, he can add videos that are either stored within SharePoint, stored within SharePoint's video library, or videos that are actually hosted externally, like, for example, embedded YouTube videos. So Carl has a lot of flexibility in exactly what he puts into this section of his page on the news article. He can also add hyperlinks, as you'd expect from any CMS, and benefits from having web paths, which essentially provides a whole array of different widgets that can be added into the page to accommodate almost any manner of different thing. Progressing. We have the next thing that Carl sees is actually from this point down, everything we're seeing is hidden from end users. These are all sort of internal bits of information, bits of metadata that need to be applied to the article. The first thing you're seeing here is essentially some categorization. Now I know what you're thinking. Categorization is the bane of every editor's life, but it's essential to get an appropriate amount of categorization applied to all of your content in order to help users actually recover that content again, and perhaps also to help your information, your knowledge management team or information managers structure that information appropriately. What we've done within SFW Plaza is try to get the balance right. there's enough tagging to provide that filtering for end users without being arduous for editors. So what we've got here is a couple of veins that go consistently across all of our content within SFW Plaza. Carl looks at the taxonomy and can pick from existing terms. Alternatively, he can start typing, and you can see when he starts typing, any term that matches it will appear within the drop-down list and is available for selection. Moving down the page slightly further, we notice the scheduling start and end dates. Now, this is actually pretty interesting for Carl right now, because scheduling start date means that Carl can write this article now, he can get it approved now and ready for publishing now, but it won't be visible to end users until 9 o'clock on Monday, simultaneously with the publication of the actual policy itself. So if he chooses to, Carl could easily add a date and time here to make that article appear in the future at a specified time. Likewise, he could choose to apply a scheduling end date, which would essentially have a published news article disappear at a specific time in the future. At the very bottom of this page, you might be able to see this little innocuous tick box here, Show Yammer Feed. Within SFW Plaza, if you tick this box like Carl just has, you will automatically have a Yammer feed applied to your news article. This means by default, you don't have to have comments around a news article. But if you choose to, you can tick that box and it will automatically embed a feed directly into the page that will be a feed that's discussing that news article and that news article alone. Carl decides to tick it. Going back up to the top of the page here, Carl has the opportunity to add an image into the page. Now, we already mentioned he can add as many images as he wants down below, but this is an image that will aggregate up and be shown on the homepage if he chooses to add one. So Carl clicks here to add a picture from SharePoint and browses. This will take him through to the last image library that he was working in, and he can pick from any number of images. He also has the opportunity at the top of the page here to add other images. So for example, if he's got an image on his desktop that he wants to upload, he can choose to upload it into this library directly in the context of trying to apply it to the page. Carl, however, already has uploaded the image that he wants to select, so he chooses this recycling bin and selects Insert, clicks OK, and that image is added to the page. Now I know what you're thinking, this image is too big for the page, but don't worry. One of the benefits of SFW Plaza is you don't have to worry about resizing images. I'm sure many of you with previous CMSs in the past have been told you've got to crop your images to specific dimensions before you actually apply them to the page. And you've probably spent countless hours in various different photo editing applications, chopping it to specific pixel dimensions. In this situation, as soon as Carl saves the page or checks it in, let's just save it now. What saving is doing is actually saving a draft version. No one else can see this. This is a preview, allowing Carl to see what the page is going to look like before any staff see it. You notice how automatically SFW Plaza resizes that recycle bin, so it now fits the context of the page. Automatically, Ramona's picture has been surfaced on the page. And also Skype for Business presencing has also been applied, allowing conversations with Ramona directly in context. And as you can see, a new Yammer feed has also been applied directly to the page. So, a couple of weeks after publishing this news article, Carl decides that he wants to now re-promote the recycling policy. He navigates back to Wessex County Council and comes to the home page. As you can see, we've already mentioned the Yammer feed that's embedded in the page. Carl now has an opportunity to re-promote this, and he decides to use Yammer because this time he wants to make use of a different communication channel. He pastes in the conversation he wants to have, and he can now post it directly to, he chooses the all company feed, he posts it directly to all of the members of his organization in order to continue the conversation and get more interest stimulated about that recycling policy. So, to conclude, I hope that that's given you a flavour of how SFW Plaza could work for you. Just to sum up what we've seen, SFW Plaza provides an Office 365 intranet in a box, which delivers all of the key functions expected by a typical public sector intranet. It can be deployed in hours and configured to meet your organization's needs in a handful of weeks. Not only does the intranet hit the ground running, it is also backed up by SFW's quarterly release and update cycle, which continues to enhance and support your intranet on an evergreen platform. As such, your investment in SFW Plaza ensures that your intranet stays fresh and adapts to meet changing requirements. I'm now going to hand back over to John to discuss the SFW Plaza delivery process.
Thank you, Rob. So before we move on to Q&A in just a moment, I'm going to briefly talk you through the process of how we can get you up and running with Plaza in just 4 weeks. The first phase is discovery, which runs for 1 week. The purpose of discovery is to understand your objectives, give you a greater insight into Plaza's features, and plan the remainder of the setup process. The outputs of discovery are concisely set out in a project vision document. The second phase is design, which also runs for 1 week. The purpose of design is to help you make all the key decisions that will enable you to us to progress and configure and launch Plaza. We'll look at how you can customize Plaza's look and feel, help you assess content readiness, agree your information architecture, and confirm how the service will be managed post go live. The outputs of the design phase are set out in a high-level design document, essentially confirming how Plaza will be configured and managed. The third phase is develop, which runs for 2 weeks. During this phase, we'll configure Plaza based on what we agreed in the design phase and deliver training on how to use Plaza. At the end of the develop phase, you'll be able to make a go, no-go decision and then launch Plaza to your organization. The final phase is manage, which is an ongoing phase that starts immediately following go live. SFW provide quarterly product enhancement releases to help keep your intranet fresh and up to date. We also provide support to provide assistance on a reactive basis and regular service review meetings to more proactively ensure that you're getting best from your investment in Plaza. So that brings us to the end of our demonstration and presentation. So thank you all for your attention today, and I'd like to now invite questions. You can post these using the webinar control panel, and we'll cover as many of these as we can with the remaining time for the webinar, but please do be assured if we run out of time, we'll respond to every question posed after the webinar. Okay, so first question has come in, which is, is it possible to schedule a new piece of content to be published on a specific date and time?
Yes, it certainly is. As you saw in the demonstration itself on the news article, you can schedule news articles to be published specifically at a given date and time. Across other pages, right across SFW Plaza, you can also apply the same scheduling if you wish to do so. So, for example, if you want a policy to go live at a specific date and time, it's perfectly possible to do that as well.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Rob. Okay, next question has come in, which is, can you use SFW Plaza on an Apple Mac?
Yes, you certainly can do that as well. SFW Plaza has been designed to work on pretty much any type of device you care to bring to the table. It's meant to be agnostic, so you can work on your iPad or on your Mac.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Okay, next question has come in, which is, does Plaza interact with corporate applications, for example, SAP?
That's a good question. Natively, we recognise that there's lots of different corporate applications that different organisations use, and as such we haven't specifically made SFW Plaza focused upon or reliant upon any given application. There's absolutely nothing stopping us from integrating with pretty much any application. As such, if you want to display information that's held within SAP, or even have a two-way integration, so it's pushing and pulling in information back and forward to SAP, there's absolutely nothing stopping you doing that as a customization.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Okay, so next question has come in, which is how and where can I customize Plaza to use my own fonts and colors?
So the process of customizing SFW Plaza is actually really simple when it comes to fonts and colors. We've designed it so that within minutes you can apply a couple of different colors yourselves and your own fonts, and this is all integrated right throughout the whole product. The whole of SFW Plaza revolves around 5 core colors and is intended to have minimal color contrast if essentially each client provides us with just 2 colors, one which sufficiently contrasts with white and one which sufficiently contrasts with a color just off of black.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Okay, one more question arrived, which is what sort of analytics do you get with Plaza?
So SFW Plaza has a range of different built-in analytics that are surfaced by SharePoint Online. Essentially what you've got there is a range of different types of report depending upon the type of content you're looking at. There are certain analytics reports that are based upon the individual item and right up to activity within an entire document library and even more so across an entire site collection. So there's a range of different reports that all provide different functionality. These can all be extended with various different third-party extensions as needed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Next question come in is how is the people directory updated and maintained? Can it be integrated with Outlook?
So yes, absolutely. The people directory itself is every person you're seeing there is being pulled through from behind the scenes the SharePoint user profile service, which is actually pulling from your Active Directory. Now what that means is we set up an Active Directory synchronization, and as changes are made within your organization's AD, those are automatically reflected within SFW Plaza, meaning that leavers and joiners should automatically be reflected in the people staff directory without needing any additional changes or additional business processes.
Okay, great. So next question that's come in is content delivered entirely through predefined style templates that enforce corporate policy, or is there any concept of workflow and authorization of content before it is published?
It's a good question. Essentially, all of the content is displayed within predefined templates, but there's nothing stopping additional templates being added to SFW Plaza for specific business purposes. Regarding the workflow side of things, each different type of content across SFW Plaza, each different area, when we are installing SFW Plaza, we have an option within our script to automatically enable or disable the out-of-the-box approval workflow process to allow approval to be applied by different clients specifically to different areas of the intranet. So for example, if you wanted approval on your policies but not on your news articles, when we set that up, when we deploy it for you, that can be automated.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Next question is how much flexibility is there with the homepage design?
So the design you're looking at is actually, it's been designed specifically to be responsive and try and promote relevant information. Now, clients that have already purchased SFW Plaza from us have actually decided that they wish to have their own interface, and there's absolutely nothing stopping you having a customized interface. Certainly in the future, we're hoping to extend this even further and provide not just one interface, but a whole range of different interfaces so that each client can pick or choose from exactly which template they want to use.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Next question is what is the search functionality with Plaza?
So, across the whole of SFW Plaza, there's an integrated single search results page. And essentially what this is doing is it's pulling back search results from not just the intranet component, but also the collaboration modules. I should mention that both intranet and collaboration are separate applications. You can have one without the other. But they both rely on this centralized search, meaning that when you conduct a search, you're pulling back documents from collaboration, you're also pulling back people, and you're also pulling back news articles, let's say, from the intranet. Within that search page, you have all of the functionality that's provided by SharePoint Search, the ability to filter, the ability to apply wildcards, etc., and it really helps you get right down to the results you're looking for.
I think probably the other thing to add with search functionality is the ability to use search scopes. So for example, the people search that we saw earlier looked very much like a typical people directory. Actually, that was also being driven by search. Okay, so next question is, do you advise on content architecture? Our current intranet is structured around departmental structure, and do you offer advice in this area?
So, absolutely, yes. SFW Plaza has been designed specifically to try and avoid organisations working around those siloed department structures. We're trying to work, we've tried to build the architecture of SFW Plaza very much in a user-centric way. It's all been driven by what the end user, the member of staff themselves, is likely to be looking for. Hence why when you see our top navigation, you're seeing things like services and how do I, which are very much focused upon the bit of information that the user themselves is trying to look for.
And I think the other thing to add when it comes to content architecture is that increasingly people are becoming more reliant on search. When we go to the internet to find information, most people will go straight to Google and just type in what they want. And increasingly there's that expectation in the workplace where we just want to search for things, we just want to use that Google approach rather than needing to navigate through a complex structure. So while it's still an important area for consideration, it's something that many organisations are now trying to simplify on the basis that people will more often search rather than navigate. The next question is, can Plaza be deployed as an extranet that allows collaboration with business partners and customers, not just internal users?
So, yes, it can. So SFW Plaza will work with Office 365's concept of external users, meaning that if you happen to have external users enabled within your particular Office 365 instance, there's nothing stopping those Office 365 external users from accessing all areas of SFW Plaza. Now you can obviously limit that if you wish to. For example, you could allow external users to have access to the intranet but not to your collaboration spaces. Or you could tie them down and say, we just want them to access this specific collaboration space. So, the choice is really yours there.
Okay, great. So next question is, where do the comments on the news page end up in Yammer? Is there a news group in Yammer?
Absolutely, yes. Good question. So one of the things we recommend our clients do when they set up SFW Plaza is to set up a news group. And all of the comments that are posted within different news articles themselves will be pushed into that news group. The comments that are shown on a specific news article are only the comments that relate to that particular page, though. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so next question is, am I notified automatically if somebody comments on a piece of content?
You can be. Yes, of course you can. SFW Plaza extends SharePoint, so essentially any specific piece of content you wish to be notified around, you could set up an alert on. So for example, if you've got a news story that you want to be alerted to, you could set up an alert on that page, and of course anyone who modifies that, you'd be alerted to that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Okay, so last question on the list currently, but do feel free to pose more questions or if you'd like to. Is, can homepage content be personalised?
Yes. In fact, there's some degree of personalisation already involved. The second section of news that I sort of showed you, we went across the top, below the main carousel itself, there's a section of news that we refer to as the community news section. And that community news is actually sort of personalised at the moment, and we're extending it going forwards. So what that means is at the moment it's surfacing information that's relevant to you. So not everyone's seeing the same news articles that are published to that channel. But in the future it's going to become even more personalised, allowing people to subscribe to specific feeds of information, etc.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Another question come in. Is there an easy way to transfer over thousands of pages of content, or does it all have to be copied and pasted over?
Migration, hey? So there's various different ways that migration can be undertaken, and it really depends upon the scale and the quantity and how many changes need to be reflected in that content before it's pulled across. So in the past we've made use of various different techniques of migrating content into SharePoint Online. For smaller amounts of content, it's often more efficient to work with our clients to manually import. But there's various different tools that come at different costs and provide different functionality that are available out there, third-party tools, that can actually undertake that migration or assist with that migration for you. So SFW have worked with various clients on doing exactly this, pulling in sometimes very significant, we're talking often in excess of terabytes of data from file shares into SharePoint Online using these various different third-party tools.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Is it possible to mark articles or policies as a mandatory read?
Unfortunately, that functionality is not available in SFW Plaza at this present time. It is something that is on our roadmap, but it's not actually very easy to force something into a user's face and without working very closely with the client and with their infrastructure sort of network team to make sure that people read it. We don't have the facility to force people to tick a box or anything like that at this point in time, but we'd certainly be happy to consider that going forwards.
Okay, so next question is, can you have more than one urgent message?
Yes, you can. So you can have any number of global alerts, and those global alerts will be shown in the order. I don't know if you remember from the presentation, but there was a priority drop-down list where it essentially will show the highest priority alerts first. Now each user can click the cross button that you might have noticed next to the global alert, and that will actually close down that alert. And if there happens to be another global alert, it will automatically then show the next highest priority alert in its place.
So say, thinking of the demonstration, if you saw the message about train delays, but actually you cycle to work, you might just miss that message straight away, and if another one comes, it'll pop back up on the screen.
Exactly, yes.
Right, okay, great. So next question, there's obviously built-in integration with other Microsoft products providing, for example, presence information. Does it also integrate with, for example, Exchange for booking resources such as meeting rooms?
Another great question. So one of the things we want to do is make more association with Exchange, especially Exchange Online. What we've very carefully not done, however, is forced our clients to have migrated their Exchange to Exchange Online. We recognise that some of our clients will have Exchange on-premise and some other clients will have Exchange Online. As such, at this point in time, we intentionally haven't moved in that direction. It is something that we'd like to consider, but we want to make very sure that it's not actually impacting other clients before we go down in that direction. So at the moment, calendar entries, for example, are all stored directly within SharePoint.
Okay, so next question is, can you make files or folders private and password protected?
Absolutely, yes. Right across SFW Plaza, specifically in the collaboration area, you've got control over the permissions and security. One of the aspects I didn't really go into is within the collaboration space, you can auto-provision, self-provision new working areas. So you saw the facilities working area. You can actually request new working areas as your organization changes. We've designed it to be very flexible and reduce effort on IT, because traditionally with SharePoint things get out of control. So essentially when you request a new working area, you can have full control over the permissions, you could lock it right down, and you can continue to do this at lower levels. So if you've got a specific library or folder or even a specific item that you don't want other people to see, there's nothing stopping you modifying the permissions to prevent other people from accessing it.
Oh, thank you, Rob. So that brings us to the end of today's session. We do have a couple more questions which we will respond to directly. Yeah, that just leaves me to thank you all very much for your time today. And if you have further questions, please do feel free to get in touch. Thank you very much.